Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Biden wants to put an extra special tax on violent video games. Everyone thought this stuff would just blow over, move away, and leave it alone. Sorry, saddest thing is, many of these politicians sees a hot button issue and likes to poke it some more and some more and some more, to the point where this is just getting freaking ridiculous. Now, the thing is, they believe there's some correlation between violent video games and violent actions. First thing first, that disproves this. We've been way violent, way before video games, way before movies and books. We've been a violent species that's been killing each other off for ages and eons. The issue is, they want to put an extra special tax, more money, taxing something on something that actually has nothing to do with it. The issue with that is more their purview is the defense of this nation and very limited things. They're going into more or less, we want control, we want power over what you see and hear. We want to tell you what's right, what's wrong. And this is straight up censorship. This is overstepping its bounds. And the fact that there's a few ways people can do censorship. You either outright take it from them, convince them to give it up, which they're trying to do, or you tax it into oblivion where only people with power and means and money can do it, which is what they're also trying to do. They're trying to say they're there to help people. They're not. They're there to line their freaking pockets. And this in and of itself has to stop. This is an art form. This is a medium that has the ability to express ideas, beliefs, give points across, bring out different ideas, cultures, concepts, and lets you actually experience them in some basic way. This is what video games do. And the fact that many different games offer different little things. Like it or not, hate them or not, BioWare's done very good on that with some of their side quests. They actually bring up some serious issues, what it means to be a human being, what it means to be alive, what does it mean to be sentient, what it means to be a person who thinks. A perfect example of that in Mass Effect 2, A House Divided. It also brings up important questions that a lot of video games do. It forces you to think. What do you hold dear? Do you hold free speech important? Do you have freedom of beliefs? Do you hold those things to be true and important? The fact that they don't like the fact that these video games literally can do these things. They cannot tell you what to do. They literally offer so much to people, so much to gamers. And they themselves see it as ability to exploit people who have gone through a horrible thing. With these shootings, they're taking advantage of people who have been hurt and harmed and have using it as fear-mongering, no different than Jack Thompson. There is no difference in what they're trying to accomplish, is getting something under control that they don't like. Not that it's bad, they don't like it, they can't tell what to do, they can't control it, so they want to make sure they want to make sure you give up your rights to it, or they can get people to tell you to give up your rights to it. These games do so much more, and you know what? They don't want you to question your thoughts. They want people just to go in, just smart enough to work the machine, clock in and clock out. They don't want people asking why, thinking about these things. Games offer and really promote the idea of thinking for yourself, thinking about ideas. Many games literally offer so much. They're an art form that literally questions everything and forces you to live with your pretty much said results of what you've done, and forces you to hold things to be true. Do you hold human life to be important? Do you actually feel that freedom of expression, freedom of speech is important? Do you feel X, Y, or Z? Many of these games, moral choice or not, offer important questions. What does it, hell, even this game, what does it mean to be human when you have to survive? Can you go beyond what is necessary to survive? Will you harm things that are inherently wish you no harm? The fact that the other scary thing about this definition of violent video games is the fact that they just say violent video games. Violence is a very, very generic term that can range from Manhunt, Call of Duty, all the way down to Terraria, Minecraft. These games themselves, there are some forms of violence in these games. Inherently, many of these games have some form of violence, no matter what you want to say. Look, if you pick up 90% of the games, the only handful of games that don't have overt violence in them would probably be Tetris or puzzle games. Or often than not, games have some form of challenge, overcoming obstacle. What better way to do it is by fighting someone. The violence of these games would even put old NES games in the label of violent video games. And this is the problem, is that these games offer so much to players, so much to people, so much to culture itself, that they don't have control over it. They don't like what's being told. They don't like that people literally can make their own choices and literally come up. Many of these games do put up good ideas. Many games from different cultures, different places, actually give a different perspective. They give a different way of thinking and looking at things. Many of these games do that. They do so much. And the fact that they don't get money, they don't get a kickback from it, they don't have any way to tell you, no, this is the way you have to think. They don't have their own media outlet with video games that tells you how to think, so they want to control it. Hell, many of these medias, they have a Democratic side and they have a Republican side. They have a conservative and a liberal side that goes for one or the other. So thus, they have some part in stake in that. In video games, they have none, not a lick of power over it. Because it's purely freedom of expression and freedom of the artist to put in there and show and talk about what they want. Even if these things are multi-conglomerate things that put out games, they themselves still are done with an artist's brush. It still requires the intellect and the thought and the ingenuity of people to think these great ideas up, put out these great ideas, and make people think and question things. That is still there. And there's no bit of strong sense of government perspective and opinion in there. It is all the freedom of expression of people, not what the government says, but what individual people or small groups of people think and believe or want to put out. It's their own beliefs and loves and likes in these games that they put, and the government has no ability to say yay or nay to it. They literally are trying to find a way to censor it. That's all they're doing with this. And that this taxation is another way of censoring it. You can censor it either through straight up taking it from them, forcing someone to give it up, or you tax it to oblivion so no one, except for those with means and political connections and wealth, can actually access this. That is another way of censoring this. By putting a tax that is non-necessary, is not there to help people. And for those people that were harmed by these mentally unstable people and hurt you, I really feel sorry for you. But that's the issue, is not video games. Just because they played a violent video game doesn't mean the next person is going to go bonkers. Stats on violence has been going down, especially since video games have come out. Is there a connection? I cannot say. I will not jump to that conclusion because I don't know. But I can guarantee that's why it's gone down. I can't say that with 100% accuracy. But here's the thing: with all these violent if violent video games were affecting so many people, there would have been massive spikes of mass murders. There's always these horrible actions happening, and there's always going to be so many people, there's always going to be some person who is mentally unstable and really fucked up in the head that really sees no respect for human life whatsoever. And the fact that censoring it because one person happened to be playing video games is not a way to solve the issue and make sure this doesn't happen again. What stops this from happening again is figuring out why by going, this person was mentally unstable. Let's see how to help them. Let's see how we can detect it earlier and see how we can make sure this person cannot harm people. That's the way you help it. Not by censoring things because of X, Y, or Z, because you don't have a clue, you don't have the ability to tell people what to think, because media in and of itself is a powerful form of freedom of thought and oppression. People can use media in whatever way possible, and what makes it worse with this is that there is a political agenda to put their perspective and their idea before those of the people, to say, we the government are going to say, this is what's right, this is what's wrong, you shouldn't be playing this, you shouldn't be touching this. This is literally telling people what to believe in, what to play, and what to touch. And it is completely censorship. That anything that they don't agree with is wrong and bad and should not be touched. and this is something that should not be stood for, not just by gamers. And if this does happen, if this form of censorship does go through, it sets a very, very horrible precedence that will make it even worse in the long term. Every medium has gone through this, and no one has learned from it through the ages. The censorship of the books in the 1950s, or 60s was it? I can't remember the exact date. This is nothing good. This will hurt things in the long run. The fact that comic books are another form of expressing yourself. I may not be an avid comic book fan, but I can see that they have ways to express themselves. Thank you for listening. Please tell me what you think, and thank you, and good night.
Looks clear. Come on.
Evacuate! Let's breach through this wall.